Hey Josh, what you doing?
I'm playing Halo 5, man.
Oh man, I wish I was playing Halo. But
I'm
wait,
playing Halo 5 while we are live on the air.
of course. I mean, that's the only way to do this.
I am in the middle of my marathon gaming streak of trying to beat this on four-player co-op legendary.
Man,
Uh,
I wish I had three friends.
God, that's just depressing, man.
It's not that
So
bad.
yeah, my fire team was counting on me and relying on me to help them out. So I am currently acting as the spawner and trying not to die.
Dedicated to the cause.
I am very dedicated to the cause. So I am here though, and I'm ready to talk a lot of Halo with Mr. Ray. We can't call you Galley anymore. We've moved on from Destiny.
Nope, you can call me Buck though. I'd like that.
Raymond Buck Williams. There we go. That is the most redneck sounding name I have ever heard for a man in my life.
I'll keep that one. I like it.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to a special episode of Neek the Podcast. Tonight, Josh and I are flying solo as we talk about Halo 5 Guardians with you because we love this game and we wanted to make sure that you knew how much we loved it. So I guess we'll kind of start with how far are you in the campaign with your friends?
Right now, I am on mission number 13. So we got two more to go after this. There's a total of 15 missions in the campaign. I'm really digging it. It's definitely more challenging on Legendary than it has been in the past, which is very welcome. The last Halo I played that was this difficult on Legendary was probably Halo 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Which we all remember the Halo 2 nightmare of if one person died in co-op, you reverted.
Yep.
This isn't quite as bad, but if you're not talking and communicating much like I'm not doing right now with my team, it's going to go really badly. We've just been leaving the person who has to go AFK for a little while as kind of the spawner in the back, so you don't have to wait out the timer. But before we talk too much about the campaign, Ray, I really want to get your thoughts on how far you are in the game.
Okay. Well, I think
you weren't really too hot on this until after E3.
right. Yeah. It took all the way until after E3 for me,
And especially this last month, you've really you and I have been talking about it. You're hyped up. You're ready to play some war zones.
Yeah, it started nipping at the heels.
So, what are your impressions? You're significantly closer to the beginning of the campaign than I am at this point.
I think
You've
I'm
done
mission 6, maybe.
Yeah, you're about a third of the way through. What are you thinking right now?
So far I'm like okay because I remember I stopped playing Halo officially after 3. I kind of dabbled in a few of the other ones. I don't think I touched Reach at all. I played a little bit of 4. Played a little bit of ODST and Halo Wars, which is my favorite. But other than that, I've been out of the Halo universe for a really long time. But this game so far, I was like, this is Halo refined to me. The controls feel better. I don't feel as much like a hulking space marine like I did, earlier on, which I do like. I like that they're a little more agile and more, badass. Like it just, I feel badass as I'm like doing this stuff. Locke and his team, Locke's team is cool. Locke is kind of like, I'm just doing my job. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something I want to touch on real quickly. I mean, obviously, Ray said the controls, the gunplay, and I'd go so far as to say kind of the sandbox worlds that you're in are far and away the best that the franchise has had ever. Especially the controls. It does take a little bit to get used to. I'm almost done with the campaign, and I still keep hitting B, thinking that it's crouch, and it's really my thrusters. That's the result of playing way too much Destiny and Call of Duty over the years, and literally every other first-person shooter ever. But God, it's so fluid. You don't feel slow anymore. Sprint actually sprints.
Yes, sprint is you're actually running now, which I love. I love that. I used to hate that about the other Halos. It's like, okay, sprint, okay, but I'm like just moving a little bit faster. I'm not actually running.
I like that when you start the campaign, when you start each mission, you get to pick who you want to play as. So like say it's a mission where you're playing Fire Team Osiris, Locke's team, you get to pick who you want to play as in those missions. Um, at least in the co-op. I haven't
Yeah,
done it
I haven't
single
had
player.
that choice. You either play as Chief or you play as Locke when you're playing by yourself. Yeah.
There you go. When you do multiplayer, though, when you do co-op, you get to pick which member of that team you want to play as. And how I do it is pick based off of what weapon does each person start with, and that tends to help out a lot.
Mhm.
So I'm really, really, really liking that aspect of it. But when it comes to the characterization, this is really my only major gripe with this game is Locke just he feels very wooden.
He's very one dimensional, pointed in one direction.
He's the stereotypical military man in these, which isn't a bad thing, but in the commercials, in the stuff from Master Chief Collection last year, the bookend cutscenes with him and the Arbiter, even the reveal trailer for Master Chief Collection that he's in, he has so much more personality just there. Like you get this idea that, oh my God, like he's gonna hunt down Chief no matter what. And I'm not obviously there's no spoilers here. We're not going to talk about the campaign at all.
No spoilers at all. Yep.
None of the storylines. We will talk about some of the characters and the characterization. It falls very flat to me. And that's my only major gripe. Outside of that, it's just the campaign is everything you want from a Halo campaign. I do feel like they could do a little bit more with the story, but in a way they did do more with the story by bringing in the expanded universe. It's finally coming into play with this game.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray, I know you recently started diving into all that.
Oh yeah, I jumped headfirst into all the lore again from the very beginning, and I can tell that this is the middle of a new trilogy, and you can definitely tell it's technically number 2 of this series, and that we're not going to get all the answers right now, but they're setting up something a lot bigger, which I appreciate and I respect them for doing that, because this is a series where there is, since they did bring in the expanded universe, that they can, and I think they're going to do it well because it's just the pacing seems a little off right now. But I feel like they'll pick up the pieces. Just because as I've gone along, they've kind of dropped some things, but picked up some other things that make sense for them. The other things to kind of drop off, at least to me anyway, because I've done a lot of reading. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see how it ends. Some people are kind of like, on the ending, but I kind of feel like I'm gonna like the way this ends.
I think your perception of the campaign, honestly, it comes down to a personal preference, right? It's like any other story in a game.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of games I haven't particularly cared for that are some of the most acclaimed stories of all times in a game. I'm really, really digging this and its relation to the Halo universe as a whole. This game probably has the most implications past any game besides Halo 2 for the expanded universe. Halo 2, obviously, monumental because you played as the Arbiter for the first time. If you went in completely blind, you had no idea that was going to happen. It was kind of a Raiden moment for Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yes.
If you stepped into that for the very first time, you had no idea what to expect. It's similar to that with Locke. If you hadn't looked at any of the promotionals or even read 343 statements, you're throwing in as Locke. You're gonna be like, why am I playing as this guy?
Yeah, I can see that, and I mean, but it's kind of funny because there are some people who I've been talking to who have been following it, kind of as it's been coming out, and they're surprised that you're playing as Locke mostly. And I'm like, how are you surprised that you're playing as Locke mostly when most of the marketing is centered around Locke finding Chief?
To be fair, I was a little bit surprised. I've been very surprised at how much I've played as Fire Team Osiris instead of Blue Team. But at the same time, I guess it's to be expected.
Right. And I won't say that they're trying to, because I compared it earlier to when I was talking to a buddy of mine. I was like, this is kind of what it felt like in Halo 2, really, going back to Halo 2, except you're playing in the arbiter role as chief instead.
Yeah, very,
Because
very much.
I kind of feel like their paths are going to take a similar turn as they did in Halo 2 with those two characters. As in they end up working together, maybe, who knows. And from there, it's just, I wasn't really surprised because let's be honest, this story is not the deepest, most rich thing in the world currently, and so
No.
it's kind of predictable in some spots. I mean, but this is Halo, you know. I'm not expecting a Dragon Age type story in a Halo game.
No, but at the same time, I mean that's one thing that has always drawn me to Halo is it's always had exceptional storytelling,
Hmm.
and I didn't have nearly as much of a problem with four as most people did. Um, I actually quite liked number four. I've even gone so far as to say it's probably my favorite story in the entire game, and that's because that made use of the expanded universe of the Forerunner trilogy of books, Cryptum, Primordium, and Silentium.
Well, that and four was also the most story dense of all of them.
Yes.
And that's why I kind of feel like people had this weird disconnect because all of a sudden it was a Halo game, and then it was like, whoa, there's a ton of lore and information that I didn't expect. I'm not going to pay attention to this. I'm done.
Right. And again, it comes down to personal preference.
Mhm.
But we've touched a lot on campaign. Let's move on to some of the multiplayer aspects. Um, Ray, I know that you were really looking forward to Warzones before this. Have you had a chance to dive in yet?
No, I didn't. I really wanted to play some before we sat down, but I didn't because I sat down and played the campaign some more. So you see where my allegiance lies.
Right, and I mean that's kind of my philosophy. Also, always play the campaign. But Halo's longevity and arguably its biggest legacy is hands down in its multiplayer.
Hmm.
Halo brought first-person shooters back to prominence on consoles, something that hadn't been done since GoldenEye.
Yeah.
And it's been phenomenal. So
Yeah, I have some friends who they literally only jumped into war zones. They haven't touched a campaign. Not, they just jumped directly into war zones. And I'm like, I don't think I've heard that as far as people playing the Halo games. It usually is everybody jumps into the campaign first, and then they kind of dabble in multiplayer. But no, they jumped right into war zones.
yeah,
So
I had a chance to sit down and play 2 or 3 rounds of Warzones this morning, in between campaign runs, and I can honestly say the hype is real on Warzones. I was very doubtful if it was. I did not want my beloved big team battle missing and going away, but this is an extremely worthy successor. Not
I've heard
that
nothing but
Big
good
Team Battle
things.
is going
So
away.
yeah.
Big Team Battle is going to come back. It's going to be in a free content update in the next month or two. But Warzones is honest to God unlike anything I've ever played.
Mm.
It's PvP and PvE, so there's something for everyone. Mini bosses will drop in while you're fighting the other team. So squads of enemies, Prometheans or Covenant will pop up. I'm really hoping they add the Flood in an update. I would love to see that. Just add a third type in. I think that could be really fun. But the bosses could be anything from a really powerful elite to some Forerunner Knights to what we call a mega boss, which is worth 150 points for your team. You only play to 1,000, so that 150 goes a long ways. One of the ones that I ended up fighting was actually one of the bosses, quote unquote, from the campaign, which is a big fat pain in the ass. He's a pain in the ass when you fight him each time in the campaign. He's even more so in war zones. You've got all these Spartans and you got vehicles and everything. You think you'd have an easier time. Mm-mm.
Well, that's good to know. It means that they scaled it right. That means they balanced the hell out of this, which is
It
good.
is absolutely balanced. I have not dove into the arena yet,
Hmm.
but I've talked to several people who are very hardcore Halo players. We all grew up together playing this, actually, and they have all said it's their favorite multiplayer. And it's not just the new car feeling. These are guys who played literally thousands of hours into Halo 2 and 3, and then kind of went away from the series with Reach and Halo 4 because the multiplayer kind of took a more Call of Duty approach.
Right.
This does a perfect job at giving you that esports feel, but also still letting it be casual. I'm going to be diving into some arena very soon. We're about halfway through the 14th mission, so I'll be doing some of that tonight. I'm very excited to play all the game modes for once. Breakout is a brand new one. No shields and no maps.
What?
Is what Breakout is. So
that sounds like SWAT.
pure crazy. It's very similar to SWAT, but there's SWAT and there's Breakout. There's two different ones. Obviously, Capture the Flag, Slayer, Team Slayer, the classic staples are all here. But Warzones is really the meat of this game, and that's what they're pushing with the rec packs. I don't have a problem with the rec pack system. With they're technically microtransactions, but the way I'm okay with it is it's all stuff you can earn within the game.
And then I've heard that it's like, isn't it all cosmetic?
It's not all cosmetic.
Really?
You start when you spawn in, you start with a pistol and an assault rifle. Okay. Automatically. That's the default loadout for everybody. How you spawn with other guns, like for example, if I want a light rifle, you have to use one of your cards to do that. And you only have so many of those. You get those through the booster packs. A quick tip for anyone who's buying these packs, if you're not buying gold, which is the highest one, you're buying garbage. Gold is 10,000 XP that you've earned through Warzones. One match, me falling even in the middle of the pack, earned me like 2,000 or 3,000 XP. You're gonna level up real. I'm already level 3, and I've only played 2 matches. Just real casually too, not even trying that hard. So it's exciting. Warzones. I was telling Ray before the show. Honestly, might be so much fun to me right now that I'm seriously considering not getting Battlefront day one.
You heard it here first.
I have everybody who listens to this show knows how much I love me some Star Wars Battlefront, how much I love the beta, etc. But this, honestly, Warzones may consume all of my time. All of the, all the maps, all the DLC maps are free. They've already confirmed that we're going to get like 20 maps or something between now and next E3. That's crazy, and it's all free. You're not paying for any of that. The only way that you can get the premium packs, quote unquote, for Warzones is by buying. It's a season pass style thing for $25, but you can only have one of those per gamer tag. You can never redeem more than one.
Interesting.
And they allot them. You only get 2 packs a week, which is extremely refreshing. Nobody's going to have an advantage over you, really, because even if they go out and buy all these gold packs with money, they're still going to have to earn the ability to use those within the game. If it costs 5 rec points, you have to be level 5 within that match, which is not as easy as it sounds.
So what you're saying is that there's a season pass just specifically for Warzones?
It's not even a season pass. It's not required to play it. It gives you 14 premium packs.
Well, no, I mean, it sounds like a season pass within like a separate mode, which is interesting.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of how you phrase it. Personally, I don't see myself buying this. And they allotted out over 7 weeks, so you're not getting all 14 packs at once. There's no insta cheat mode. I assume you're going to have to get that to unlock every cosmetic item. But I love how you're already getting rewards. Like if you did certain things in Master Chief Collection, you get certain sets of armor in this game. For example, beating all the campaigns on Legendary in Master Chief Collection, you get a special set of armor. If you watch, for whatever godforsaken reason, you sat through Halo Nightfall, you get the Nightfall armor.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Which is what I'm rocking. I just skipped to the end of every episode and it worked.
Well, there you go, people. If you want that special armor in Halo from the Nightfall, skip to every episode and you'll get it.
Yeah, if you're a completionist like I tend to be, that's definitely something you're going to want to do. So I guess kind of wrapping up my thoughts personally. If I were to score this, being almost done with the campaign on Legendary, having been exposed to Warzones, I gotta say it's very hard for me to rank the Halos. First off, Halo is one of those few series that's remained consistently solid through every installment, even though some people may not like Reach or ODST. The series has remained very solid for Microsoft. I'd probably rate this somewhere around a 9, maybe slightly less than a 9, just because I do have some serious beefs with the campaign that I have not gone into detail yet.
Well, I mean, that's still a really good rating if you ask me.
Right,
Like
a
on
9
a
for
scale of 10, yeah, that's
yeah, a 9 out of 10 for an exclusive is just
Mhm.
it's good for anybody.
And if you ask me, that's what all exclusives should be. But hey, we'll talk about that later. So kind of getting back to Warzones for a second because this is really interesting. It seems to have a really like they added MOBA components to this multiplayer, and that's why it seems like it's so different. You have enemy spawns that just outside of the players that spawn, and you can use those spawns to get more points to win. Like you would in a MOBA, you would use them to get buffs.
Right, it's very similar to a MOBA.
Hmm.
And I don't like MOBAs, but like I said, I've fallen in love with Warzones already, just playing a few matches. If you're one of those people who are kind of on the fence, saying, I don't know if I want to get it because the campaign I'm not hearing good things about the campaign. The campaign is going to appeal more to those who have invested into the expanded universe of Halo, those who have followed every one of these games. Even I found myself wanting a little bit more. Multiplayer is the meat of the bone. I would pay $60 for the multiplayer on its own.
Oh wow!
Just with, Arena, Arena. That's classic Halo. It's 4v4. It's very good. They've definitely refined it since the beta, which was a concern of both of ours.
Yeah.
It feels more Halo-ish,
Hmm.
but it has that esports kick at the same time.
Which is good for the series itself. So I mean,
Right. This really is. 343 said this was going to be the biggest evolution ever for Halo, and it really has been.
I agree. Yep.
I don't ever see me going back to a Halo that does not have the fire team system or Warzones. Warzones already is the must-play thing of the year. And I think a lot of people are going to be really pleasantly surprised by it. Like Ray said, there's people who've only touched that in the 24 hours that it's been out. That's impressive enough. People would, of course, be doing that just for regular multiplayer, but for them to be doing it for a brand new mode that most of us didn't see much on before it came out. I watched one video from E3 and then avoided everything else on Warzones.
Yeah, I felt like there was only I felt like there was only one video because that's all I saw. Is all I remember. I might have saw a live stream or two here there right in the beginning when they had people come out and play it to kind of show other people that hey, Warzones is awesome. But other than that, yeah, I haven't seen much. But I'm still really I'm really excited to play it still.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be fun. I think Ray and I are gonna try and organize a game night eventually.
Yes.
For this, a lot of us can all jump in together. It really is a blast. It's much more fun if you play it with people, I imagine. I had a lot of fun just playing by myself. But getting to strategize with your friends, with your teammates that you've played with before, there's just nothing like that in a multiplayer game, getting to strategize and take out the other team, especially it's 12 on 12 with random enemies running around, vehicles getting spawned in. There's no set timers for the vehicles. You have to do them yourself. So there can be just complete unmitigated chaos going on. At one point, we had like 4 or 5 wraiths, a scorpion, and all sorts of ghosts duking it out in the middle of the level.
Oh my goodness.
My frame rate started staggering a little bit because there was so much going on. They've tried so hard to keep this at 60 frames.
Yeah. And
they've succeeded. It's I don't think it's a stretch to say this is the most gorgeous Xbox One exclusive. This is, from a first-party studio, this is an example of what you should be able to do with your hardware.
This is true. I would agree with that.
I would say the only game that comes close to it in my mind is probably Sunset Overdrive.
I'd say Rise and Sunset Overdrive for sure.
Rise, definitely. I do like how it feels a little bit more refined.
Oh yeah, because it doesn't have the launch sickness that Rise did. So yeah.
Right. It's but even if you're not huge into Halo, if you're not huge into the lore, I strongly advise you get it for the multiplayer, get it for Warzones, get it for Arena. You will like it.
Okay.
If you're sketchy on it, Redbox it or GameFly it. Like Definitely give it a try, though. Don't write it off before you do, just because you're upset about how the marketing went,
We'll talk
or
about that in a second. So yeah, just kind of wrapping up the impressions. So far, this game is a super solid game, super solid first party game. It's exactly what I expected, which is really good. I expected to have a Halo experience with current gen hardware, with kind of a refresh on everything, controls, graphics, story, everything, and it's exactly what it is to me. I hate to use this word, but there have been certain points where I sat there and it was like, wow, that kind of hit the nostalgia button, because I was like, man, I remember playing, Halo 3 on, launch day. It's like, oh man, this is so awesome. And I've kind of had a few moments like that. And I'm like, okay, it's hitting the right notes for me anyway. So anyway, moving on. We've had a few conversations with a few people where the marketing is driving people away from this game because it's not what they thought it was going to be, as far as hunt the truth and all of the commercials, and that none of that stuff exists in the actual game, and that they feel betrayed, and they don't think that it's fair that none of the stuff that got them excited about the game is actually in the game. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with any of that, honestly. You got excited about this game because of the good job they did, first off.
right.
And I don't think it's necessary that it had to be in the game. They gave us I think it's very impressive that they took a very completely separate piece of content and made you excited about this game that it had nothing to do with. I applaud them for that. I mean, yes, I shouldn't say that it had nothing to do with the game, because it does. And the feel, like they ingrained hunt the truth into you, because that is the concept of the game. You're trying to find out the truth. There's some stuff going down that you're trying to figure out. And really that's the tone they were trying to build. And I think they were very successful. I think the Hunt the Truth podcast was excellent. By far one of my most favorite marketing campaigns ever, especially for a video game. Really well done. And I feel like there should be more like it. I mean, I hope that other people follow suit and they do really cool stuff like that, because it was awesome from start to finish. And I don't care that none of that stuff is directly in the game. It built a universe within the universe, and it helped me establish my feelings on that they really cared about the universe that they're working in. And I like that, and I respect that. And if this is what's keeping you away from this game, I really feel like you need to evaluate if you're really excited about this game in the first place, if you actually wanted to play this game. So, I mean, it's really up to you.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't the first time that we've had the viral marketing with Halo, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've done it before for for Halo 3 and Halo 2. Halo 2 had the infamous "I Love Bees" campaign, and I was joking with Ray earlier. I was like, where are my bees? I'm outraged that there were no bees in this game.
No bees in my game. Not the
right.
bees.
And that was just me kind of being facetious. But Halo 3, had the beautiful Starry Night trailer. I think we all remember the kids laying outside and then cutting to Chief. Scenes like that weren't really in the game. That wasn't indicative of it. Then there was the whole Believe campaign, the dioramas, them acting like Chief was dead, the brutes holding him up. Halo's always been a little misleading with its marketing, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I wouldn't even
use the word misleading. I wouldn't use that word.
I would in the case of like Halo 3. Halo 4, though, I don't know. The only thing I was... you see, I can't get into it. Spoiler territory.
That's true.
There's a few things that I think they could have done differently, but I'm not going to sit here and nitpick it. It was a very, very, very well done story. A very well done game. I think Ray and I both agree. We're both loving it. Highly encourage you. If you have an Xbox One and you do not have this on your radar, you're doing yourself a disservice at this point.
And I mean, yeah, go ahead and wait for a price drop. That's fine. Everybody else will have moved on from the main focus of it by the time you're enjoying it. You're like, why isn't everybody enjoying this as much as I am? It's because you were the one who was like, no, I think I'm going to wait because it's not what I thought it was. But you haven't even played it. So anyway, I don't know. It's just that kind of frustrates me when we get into that hive mind mentality where it's like, wow, they really duped us. The stuff that we thought was going to be in the stuff isn't in the stuff. Come on, please. We're better than that. Please. Uh, the Truth was amazing, and I hope that you all thought it was amazing because that's what it is. But don't remove yourself from this experience because it's not everything you think it should be immediately because it's got so much more. So much more.
Right. And just one last closing thought that I have that I'm completely done with my thoughts. Mike Coulter, if in case you didn't notice, he actually jumped ship and is not voicing Locke anymore. This was due to his role in Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, which 343 actually released him from his contract with them in order for him to go do that. The guy who does the voiceover sounds almost exactly like he did. They still use his likeness and all the mocap work that he did, though. So that kind of makes me wonder how they're going to handle that going forward. But I'm very, very interested in the future of this franchise now. I was someone who thought that my time with Halo was done after ODST. I didn't pick up Reach until about 6 months after. Halo 4, I actually had to be convinced into buying the day it came out. I had no intentions of buying it, hadn't even looked at anything for Halo 4. Now I look at it and I'm like, this is why I've been hyped for 2 years about this. Hearing the little tidbits about the story, trying to remain unspoiled. I can't wait to see what they do next. But I do think that a time where Halo will go on hiatus for a while is imminently approaching.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, it needs to. I'm not getting burned out, but I don't want the series to. I think they're going to need to go back to the drawing board once we reach the conclusion of the story that's going on in 4 and 5. Like Ray said, it feels very much like the middle of a trilogy. We need to finish this.
Mm-hmm.
Finish this, take a break. The EU has never been stronger. Joseph Staten is now back at Microsoft after having left Bungie, and he was the architect of the Halo universe really from the beginning. From Combat Evolved through Reach, he was one of the main storytellers. He wrote the Halo series Bible, as they call it. So I'm very excited to see if they bring him in for the next one. There's a few changes that need to be made in regards to how they handle the overall franchise, but I mean, Bonnie Ross is just doing a phenomenal job with 343.
Agreed. I'm really impressed. So let's keep it up.
Right. And so I think that about does it for me. My thoughts on Halo 5. Yeah, Ray, do you have anything else?
Take the time to form your own opinions. That's kind of what I'm kind of going to say. And I can say that for anything, but especially for this. Don't let other people scare you away from something because of what they said. It just doesn't make sense. Experience it for yourself. And then if you don't like it, hey, at least you tried. And I respect that.
And my Halo 5 console is rad.
Oh, man, that's right. I have a regular white Xbox, and it's pretty sweet, too.
I caved and got the Halo 5 Xbox 2 days before it came out.
Well, hey.
After I got rid of my giant Super Collector's Edition, and in retrospect, I'm very happy that I got this instead. It's beautiful. I've never done a special edition console. But
well, I'm
it's
glad
gorgeous.
that you did because it is pretty. So thanks a lot for listening to this show, folks. We really appreciate it. Tell us if you like us doing these one-off type deals for certain games because I like this.
We're very interested in doing more. Hint, hint. There may be a Fallout one.
Oh, there will be a Fallout.
That'll have to be a couple weeks after Fallout.
Yes, because we're gonna go into our vaults and never come out. Well, we'll come out maybe a few weeks after to talk about it. But still, we really appreciate you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this show and keep on playing that Halo 5, and we'll see you out there in the war zones. Bye now.